I don't have any cake. Otherwise, I would have cake with me right now or some other form of sweets for this video. So, this is just another one of my One Piece couples videos. Canon couples. This one is a little bit more of a, I guess, a little bit of a shot in the dark type of a thing, but also just a little bit of a, I wanted to do a discussion on this kind of anyway, and this is kind of the best category that it falls in. So I kind of wanted to go over the concept of like all these 43 different husbands or husbandos or whatever that Charlotte Linlin has had over the years. And, you know, kind of going a little bit of like, well, the little bits that we would know about said person is this and this and this, but, you know, it differs a little bit in there. So, the way that this breaks down, to a degree, is Charlotte Linlin, Big Mom, Emperor of the Sea, for however much longer, we're not sure, but she was an Emperor of the Sea. She has been having children since she was 18 years old, and she had the last one when she was 60 years old. She is 68 years old, and she has her youngest child, which is Charlotte Anana, who is adorable, and she has pink hair, and she has a stuffed rabbit that she likes to carry around and apparently stab. So she has had, I think it's like, I want to say 85 children, but it's like 80-some children, if I remember correctly, and this breaks down to 22 single births, 11 pairs of twins, 6 pairs of triplets, 2 sets of quadruplets, 4 children at a time, 1 set of quintuplets, which is 5 children, and then 1 set of decuplets, 10 children. So, yeah, that's a lot of children. And I thought my mom, and I thought my grandparents had it hard. I had 1 set of grandparents on my mom's side. They had, 7 children. My grandparents on my dad's side had 6 children, and it's just like, no, there's so many more. I know there's a lot of people out there that have, that have like so many children and everything. I'm just like, no, I do not need that many children. So the way that I kind of broke this down a little bit is anything that we know about said husbands. So we know one husband. The one husband that we know about for exactly who he is Pound. I do not remember what number he was in the lineup, but he was like her 30-some-ish husband. And he is, of course, the father of Lola and Chiffon. And the way we know, basically, just like the information that we got about this, is that when, Pound married Linlin, they had, Chiffon and Lola, and then Linlin basically kicked him out of the castle. Just like, bye. And, that resulted in, he's just like, but, it's like, but they're my daughters. I want to see them. I want to know them. And she's like, no, it doesn't matter. They're my children, And we have the moment in the forest where we have Cracker and Brulee, when they see Pound, they're just like, oh, stepfather Pound. Oh, I mean Pound, ex-stepfather, whatever, all of the husbands get like a fake crown and, all this other stuff. And, it's like, you're just here to give mama children. We're not, the children don't have any real loyalty to their biological fathers. All their loyalty goes to their mother and to their siblings from what we've seen. Although, given the fact that Chiffon left, Lola left, Praline left, Pudding possibly wants to leave, maybe, they had better options, much better options to go with. Just like, I'll go with the person you wanted me to marry with over spending time with you. But what we see happen is Pound, he's forced out of the castle and he doesn't get to watch Lola and Chiffon grow up. You can probably hear Rainy's tags jingling in the background, and now he's looking at me. You want to come in here? You want to come in here? You can be part of the video. Come here. That is not here. That is the stairwell. I love the dog. But what we see is that if this is something that she's done multiple times, which at the very least, She probably would have started doing this, or this concept of doing this, after she kind of more settled down on Whole Cake Island and started settling down these different other islands that became part of Totland. It probably wasn't the exact way she was way back in the beginning, but it was probably similar enough that over the last several, couple of decades, her last, probably the last, at the very least, the last, however many, 20 some husbands or something like that, whatever, it probably became this pattern. And, from what we've seen, she's had, so many different husbands. Several of them were, some of the different races, the different tribes and everything. And she wanted to create this world of, dreams with everybody living together happily. I did want to go down a slight list of like some of the people that we think may have been possible, husbands for her, possible at the very least fathers for the children. And that would be 42 other options. But the first one that a lot of people say is, Streusen. He was on the, what became Whole Cake Island with her. He, helped, found the Big Mom Pirates. He's been around her for so long. He could possibly be the parent to, Perospero and possibly Compo. And that's a possibility. We don't really know too much about that. We know that he's been around Linlin for a very long time, for 60 some years, and that's a possibility. But there was also, at that time, she would have had Perospero when she was 18, and there would have been a fairly large age gap between her and Streusen at that point in time, because he was in his, at the very least, 30s, I think, when they met, when she was a child. So that's a very large age gap, but I don't know. Next up, a lot of people were like, Kaido has to be Katakuri, Daifuku, and Oven's father. He has to be. And I was under the impression for a long time, until we got Kaido's age and the exact time frame that he would have met Linlin, that was a possibility. But as it's been proven recently in the manga and with other information we've gotten, that is not true. Katakuri, Daifuku, and Oven, we still don't know who their father is, but it wouldn't have been Kaido, because even by the time Linlin met Kaido was only 15. And Katakuri, Daifuku, and Oven would have already been born at that point in time, because they are in their 40s. Yes, they're in their 40s. And Linlin stated that she seemed to be a little bit more of had that kind of brother-sister relationship with Kaido, which understandable. So I don't see Kaido being the father of any of her children. Particularly, they may not have been around each other long enough for that. Particularly if that, that was the first time that, A, they met, and B, the first time that he was, the first time that Kaido was, around Rox's crew. Another option is Roxy Xebec himself. He could be a father of one of the children or some of the children. We don't know. We don't know. I don't think we ever got an exact age on him. We know that it was 38 years ago, roughly, when he died. Whether or not that's true or not is debatable. But, Linlin stated that she, partnered up with him several times. So there's a possibility that, maybe, Xebec, I guess, could be Katakuri, Daifuku, and Oven's father, but I doubt it. But, we don't know. There's a couple of other children she would have had within that time frame that maybe she would have been on the Rox's crew, maybe would have resulted in that. And then, of course, leads into the other possible members that were on Rox's crew. There's, of course, we know that Edward Newgate Whitebeard was on the crew. Whether or not he had any children with her is left up for debate. We don't know. We don't even know if Weevil is his biological son. But we're not sure. Then there's Shiki, the Golden Lion. He could be, he was on the crew. you know, we don't know. Maybe him and Linlin had, like, you know, interacted before, and maybe she did decide to have a child with him. And a lot of people, I think, point out to, like, Montdor being, like, a possibility of a child for, like, Shiki and Big Mom, because I think they have, like, similar noses from what I understand. So that's a possibility. The other one is, of course, John, Captain John, who we've only seen in zombie form. He could, I guess, possibly be a father of one of the children. Same thing with Silver Axe. And same thing with, you know, Wang Ji. But we don't know that yet. We don't know if any of those could be, like, specifically a father of, like, this specific child or that specific child. We don't know. They could be, but that's until we get, like, an exact statement of, yes, this is this person's father, we don't know. The ones that we do know at least something about their father is we have, of course, the different sibling groups that are hybrids. So that is, of course, Amande's group. I know she's not the oldest one in the group, but I just refer to it as Amande's group. Amande's group that are all half snake neck, that are her and her three sisters. Then there is Opera's group. They are all half fishmen. Then there is, of course, Smoothie's group, that is her and Citron and Cinnamon, and they are all half, you know, long leg tribe. Then we have Prim and Praline, that are half, you know, mermaid, half merman, you know, fishmen, mermen, mermaids. We don't know, you know, again, we don't know. Then there is Mobile's group. Now, these are all children that are all long arm tribe members. And we don't see that many of them. There's one that has blue hair. I like her design. Then there is Mascarpone and Juscarpone, that are twins, that are also snake neck tribes. So I think Linlin has had, like, at least 3 sets of children that are half snake tribe members, or snake neck tribe members. Whether or not they all have the same father is left up for debate. And then there is Pudding, who of course is half Third Eye tribe. Then of course we have Wero, who is one of the younger children, and he is half snake neck. Then we have Descartes, who is half fishman again. So there's at least 3 of them that are half fishmen. Then there is, of course, or 3 sets that are half fishmen. Then there is, of course, Normande, who is adorable, and she is half dwarf. I don't want to think about Big Mom and a dwarf, but, you know, something would have had to have been done. And then that's about it. The other one that I put in here is a possibility of possibly being a hybrid is Malaise, who is, we never see her in the anime. She's never been animated. We just have, like, this sketch of her. And in the sketch, she has, you know, antlers. She has horns, kind of like a deer. And it, you know, there's a possibility that maybe she's, like, half mink. But if I remember correctly, Malaise is, like, in her 20s, I think. And I don't know if she would have been, you know, when Linlin would have interacted with minks at that point in time, because, you know, the earliest that we know about them interacting with minks is when Pedro and some of the others ended up on the island, you know, ended up in Totland trying to find the poneglyph. And I don't, you know, she's not young enough for that. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe she interacted with minks beforehand. The only other things that we really know is that, you know, Linlin, the way that she raises her children is your loyalty is to me and to your siblings. You have no connection to your fathers whatsoever. Although admittedly the fact that, you know, it stated that she likes to kidnap her husbands and then marries her husband solely for the purposes of, you know, conceiving children, you know, so that way she can have, you know, all of these children that have all of these different traits of, you know, oh, well, clearly all of my children can get along, and these ones are half fishman, and these ones are half snake neck, and those ones are long leg and long arm, and, you know, these ones are, you know, she's third eye, you know, and then these ones are, you know, quote unquote full human, depending on stuff, you know, whatever amount of giant Linlin might have in her, we don't know, but, you know, all this other stuff, and, you know, it's like, and they all get along. Admittedly, a lot of the children do seem to get along with each other rather well, regardless of their different characteristics. Flampe to Katakuri, after she found out about his mouth, being the one of the exceptions to that rule, but we know that a lot of the older children that would have been alive, you know, before Katakuri started covering his, you know, wearing his scarf and everything, a lot of them know about his, his scars and his teeth and everything, and they don't judge him for that. They never really seem to judge him for it. And, you know, we'll see what happens with that. I do like Katakuri a lot. But, you know, we'll see what happens with that. I did mention in some of my other videos where I talked about, I did a video where I talked about Praline and Aladdin, Chiffon and Capone, and then Lola and Gotti, where I talked about their marriages and how it is stated that like some of the older Charlotte children all have families of their own, like have their own spouses and their own children, because like Pudding mentions this way back when the Straw Hats first meet her, that, oh, a bunch of my older siblings are already married and they have children of their own and everything. And, you know, we get like there's like 85 of, you know, the children total. That's not including all of the in-laws and the children, the grandchildren at that point in time. But the only grandchild we've met is Pez, because it wasn't really needed for us to meet any of the other family members, any of the other spouses for them. And given the logic, probably a lot of them are either, you know, other pirates that, you know, married into Linlin's, you know, family for, you know, to join her crew, or they're possibly other people that were like the mayors or the rulers of some of these other islands that were around Totland, and then like they had, you know, Linlin like had one of her children marry them and such, to just, you know, have the basis of like, oh, well, now since you're, you know, if you marry into our family, then your island is under our protection, but it is now my island type of a thing. And, you know, we don't know how often, you know, how many of the children actually have any form of a relationship with their fathers. If it was, you know, maybe Linlin, you know, maybe some of them went into the relationship understanding that like, you are simply here to marry me and then give me a child, and then you go away. But your people are protected here on, you know, here within Totland, as long as they pay, you know, the tribute of, you know, 1 month every 6 months or whatever it was, or 1 week every 6 months of their lives, or whatever that payment is. But, you know, we don't really know that much else about that for any of her other husbands. I don't really know if we're ever going to get a full explanation as to a full list of every single one of her husbands. Like, maybe Oda at the end will just be like, okay, fine, I'm sick and tired of people asking me these questions. Here's a list of all the children. Here's a list of all their fathers. Why are they all named Steve? Linlin likes the name Steve. I don't know. Just variations of like Steve, Bob, Joe, Tim, Hank. You know, whatever the Japanese variations of like the Japanese version of John, whatever that is. I don't know what the Japanese version of John is, but just like make up those names and like do that. That would be funny. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But, you know, maybe at some point we will get an explanation to that if we ever get any more of like a flashback that maybe involves the Rock's crew. Maybe we'll see whether or not any of them may possibly be fathers of any of Linlin's children at the time frame. But since we don't know exactly how long Linlin would have been in contact with Rox, the most it would have been about 22 years, because she, you know, Rox died about 38 years ago with God Valley incident, and then, you know, she started her pirate career, or she started having children, she started having children when she was 18 years old, and she's 68 now, so that would have been 50 years ago. She said she had children like continuously for like 52 years, I think. Am I doing my math correctly? I don't remember. But like in that time frame, she would have been around Rox possibly multiple times, possibly some of the other members that were like on the crew at various points in time, you know, that teamed up with Rox for different things. You know, maybe she interacted with them a lot more at that point in time. You know, some of them could be fathers, some of them could just be, oh, they landed on an island that happened to have, you know, oh, this island happens to have, you know, a long neck tribe on it. So, you know, a snake neck tribe. So, oh, I'll, you know, take one of them and have a child with them and blah, 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 blah. You know, oh, I found a fishman. I'll have a child with them. You know, whatever. We don't know. That'll be possibly explained later on. It may not, since we're, you know, kind of getting away from Whole Cake Island at this point in time. Hopefully a lot of that will be finished, getting wrapped up, and then it'll hopefully have landed on the boat. And her and her children will just be like, okay, we got Perospero. We're leaving now. We got Mama. We got Perospero. We're going home. Maybe. So we'll see what happens with that. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you have a nice rest of your day. And if you have any theories about who any of Linlen's other husbands could be, just, you know, comment about that if you think about that. So thank you. Bye. All right, Linlen. Why don't we create one then? A country of dreams.